Hello. There we go. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I brought some very good friends that I've been able to work with over the last year to be part of this panel. And why don't we each introduce ourselves? Well, we kind of got introduced, but let me just say that Raquel and Stacie are very much champions of inclusion. It's been a pleasure to get to know them over the last year and really understand where they're coming from. So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Cool. Raquel Smith. I work at eBay. I also lead the women's initiatives at eBay, which we're branching out to more of a diversity campaign as well. So I've been there 9 years.
I'm Stacie Farmer. We started a local chapter of Girl Develop It, which is a national organization that helps encourage women to get involved in tech. I've been a web developer for 4 to 5 years, and I've got 2 kids, so I'm also really passionate about getting kids involved in programming as well.
Me too. My husband's a developer, so we try to talk code whenever we can to our kids. Well, thank you, everybody. We're just going to get this kicked off. I co-founded Women Tech Council about 8 years ago, and let me just answer that question. Yes, men can get involved in Women Tech Council. I know that's what you're thinking. So this is who's involved today, and we're just really thrilled. And we thought there's a lot of different perspectives that we're bringing. Raquel from the corporate side, Stacie from the women developer side, and then myself from kind of a more technology organization side and kind of what we're seeing in the industry. And so you already know who we are. And we wanted to kick it off with an open conversation. What makes a community to you? How would you define community?
Don't be shy.
People with a shared relationship, like either a product or a proximity, something that makes them feel like they share a trait.
Okay, so she said people having a shared, something to share, a shared relationship, products, proximity, something in common that they can connect over, right? Anyone else?
Justin? No?
She stole mine.
All right.
Isaac?
Yeah, giving over competition and instead going towards cooperation.
Okay, moving from competition to cooperation. A support system. I'm repeating this just so that the audio will pick up since they are having videos. Anyone else? Great. And all of those to me are really important. And what I loved about all those answers is nobody said having women in the mix, having people of racial diversity in the mix, right? Because when it really comes down to it, inclusion, that's not the focus. But we know that we can do better on inclusion, which is why it becomes a topic. So just so you also know, I'm also on the board of the Utah Open Source Foundation, which is putting on the Openwest conference. And as a board, we've decided to make a statement around what inclusion to us means. So I wanted to walk through what our statement is, and I'm going to stand up and read it since I don't have it memorized, unfortunately. And I wanted to highlight some words that I feel kind of stand out as I read this. So I've highlighted those in green. But we're committed to an inclusive community based on the following pillars: acceptance, collaboration, equality, and ownership. So acceptance is an inclusive community, is accepting of diversity. We are open to dialogue that seeks to understand diverse viewpoints. We engage each other as we build cultures of understanding. Collaboration. An inclusion community is better when everyone works together instead of in competition. We are community builders. Everyone wins when we build each other's strengths and skill sets. Equality. We see each other as and treat each other as equals with complementary skills and strengths that serve to build a community. An inclusive community gives its members the benefit of the doubt. Ownership. An inclusive community is socially responsible, gives back to the larger community, and grows the next generation with opportunities that we did not have. The next generation thus learns how to give back and continues to grow the community. So we'd love your feedback. This is the first time that we've actually publicly shown what the statement was. Is there any feedback that anyone has? Thank you. It was awesome. He said it. And I think it reflects some of the comments. I mean, from competition to cooperation, finding those commonalities that we can build a community on. So we thought each of us take a pillar and talk about that from our perspective. So Raquel's going to talk about acceptance. Stacie will talk about collaboration. I'll take equality. Then we'll have an open discussion on the last pillar, which is ownership. So I'm going to switch over the slides.
You'll have to forgive me. I think I have everything memorized that's up here. But so I thought I'd walk you guys through the journey of eBay and how it's developed in its acceptance of inclusion. And I wanted to start it out with just some words from our leaders, starting with our CEO, John Donahoe. As if you don't know him, or if you haven't heard him speak at all, he's very open and active about communicating the need of hiring the best people for a great company to hit our goals that we want to achieve. And, statistics show and everything tells us that when we have the most dynamic environment and the most unique set of minds, then we come up with better results and we get a more well-rounded solution to the things that we're trying to accomplish. And so, he tells us that in order to retain the best talent, we have to develop women. And, we have an initiative that I support that's specifically for helping women develop. And I'll get to why we have one for women and not one specifically for developing men in just a minute. So don't you worry about that. But just a couple more quotes from our leaders about supporting women. We have our senior HR leader who's told us that we have untapped potential, that women just aren't aware of, right, that they have certain talents, and they just, in the nature of the corporate world, it's not natural necessarily to feel acceptance. And then we have a couple of other leaders tell us about just learning from other people who are different from you. It doesn't matter who it is, if it's someone that's just from another town or another state or is from a different culture or background or different gender, chances are you can learn something different from everyone. Typically, we try to have conversations where we're trying to find a common interest. And another piece that we're learning in the eBay community is that we actually develop a dynamic environment when we're learning from each other, when we're trying to figure out what's different about each other. So to paint a picture, 2 years ago, we had a kickoff on our eBay Women in Technology organization, and we tried our very best to invite men to come to the event because we have a lot of opportunities in our program to help anyone with their career development, because our objective is to help anyone grow in their careers. And anything that we bring to the table with our speakers that we have, anyone can learn from. And so we shared at this kickoff this concept of the unconscious bias, right? So we never have any intention of sticking it to anyone, to be different than us and that we're going to exclude them. It's usually the unconscious bias that we have. So just to kind of set the stage, how many here in the room is left-handed? Okay. So for everyone else here that's right-handed, how good does it feel to stick it to the lefties? No. Yeah. So it's not really something that we intend to do. We don't wake up and say, I'm going to sit at these desks. I mean, if you look at these chairs that are in front of you, these are actually designed by product designers that were likely right-handed. There wasn't anyone in the design room that said, oh, I'm going to stick it to the lefties. No, this just happened to be something they weren't thinking about at the time they designed these chairs.
Even a handshake.
Even a handshake.
It's right-handed.
It's right-handed. Oh, there we go. So someone was
We're
thinking
singling
about
them
it.
out.
That's right. It's kind of like
You'll have to sit on your side.
They can't sit front and center.
So that's what we try to do at eBay. From our leaders, we're grateful enough that we can have leaders that remind us all the time that we have a top initiative to hire the best people so we can have the best pool of people to hire from. And that's why we have a women's organization to help with their development because, well, that's just kind of the dynamic that you have in a corporate setting. It's kind of like left-handed versus right-handed, and that's kind of what we deal with. So I'll go to the next slide real quick. This is just kind of an illustration of what we've done at eBay and the process we've gone through to really develop an organization. And wherever you're at today, if you're in a small startup or if you're developing, contracting or whatever, you can do this individually. You can make an effort to consciously go out and learn from someone that's different from you to bring in that acceptance. But also, if you're in an organization and you have leaders that support the idea, then maybe you can try something out that we've done at eBay that seems to work for us. So first we start with the leaders. You saw the quotes from them. They really want us to bring this acceptance because, well, financially we just benefit from having a more dynamic environment. And then at that point they leave it up to us to empower each other. So they come up with a great staff, and we're all volunteers that are in our women's organization, and we follow through and establish a program. We have sponsorships from different organizations throughout the company, and then we go through it and we just come up with an objective and goals. And you can see the goals that are up there. We want to have consistent communication. We want to develop the people. And then from that point, we just go and we deliver. So we don't try to plan it so much. We just go out and we set up programs and we make things available for them. We provide people at eBay resources on how to learn how to develop. And over the last few years, why it's grown so much more and being a better place for acceptance is that we've actually been integrating more. We're not just inviting women to these programs, we're inviting men to these programs as well. And that's been as a result of the feedback that we've been getting at the end. We're tracking our progress. We're seeing what brings people into the programs that we do have and the workshops that we do have. And at first, the women who were members of our organization, they were afraid of having men come because they felt like it wouldn't be a safe environment, but it's actually the opposite. The more integrated we've been in the programs that we've had, the better conversations we've had and the better networking we've had. So I'll just briefly go over to show you guys that we have a manifesto that we share with anyone that's willing to listen about what we do to focus on acceptance and helping people develop. And you can see that this is just a reflection of what the leaders have shared with us, right? What you saw from the quotes, that, we're simply here to develop people. We're here to hire the best people. The reason why we're doing it is, well, it makes a better company, it makes a better organization, and we do that through the people. So from the leaders, we get support, and then from that point on, they trust us as the staff to go ahead and execute, and we continue to demonstrate that it brings value back to eBay by the numbers that we see, by measuring, how the hiring is, if we're reducing attrition, if the intelligence in the conversations are a bit different. We've had some conversations with our leaders, our executive leaders, that it's not just about promoting people to the next level, but it's about those conversations that happen at that level as well. So we're continuing to learn more every single year, and that's why we continue to get the support from our leaders. So.
Great. Do you want to pass the... Okay, so now Stacie's going to talk on collaboration.
That's in case you didn't know what I was going to talk about. So another very important pillar in order to have an inclusive community or organization is obviously collaboration. Our workforce used to be, and in some places unfortunately still is, separated, where people or departments were cogs in the big machine. Well, we'd have problems when something would happen and the cogs would not talk to one another, or you'd have to go through 3 or more layers of management to get something done, right? Bureaucracy is not exactly the most efficient way to get things done. So people started thinking, how can we do this better? and they went towards collaboration, where everyone started working together, started talking to each other, and kind of taking some of the middlemen out. So what has it brought us, right? I'm sure most of you have heard of this. If you haven't, you should go check it out. So Wikipedia is probably one of the best known examples of collaboration. People are coming together, unpaid, I might add, and they're producing this volume of information. Why would they do that, right? They're not even getting paid to do this. They do it because it's actually fun. For teams working together, collaborating lets you throw ideas out and then hash them out, right? Wikipedia does this. You put up information and then people can come and they can say, nope, that's right. Nope, that's wrong. And so with people working together, you redefine things to make them into the best that they can possibly be. So the problems today are a lot more complex, I would think, than they used to be, right? Nowadays, you need to know how to migrate 20 terabytes of data from your old servers, your old XP servers, to new ones. You got to do it with no downtime to your users, right? And you need to figure out which hardware. So that's pretty complex. Next one. There we go. So collaboration lets everybody have a say in what's going on. That means everyone is hopefully coming from different backgrounds. That doesn't even just mean race or gender. You know, all of us in this room, all of us come from different backgrounds. We all bring something new and unique to the table. So when you try and have the most diverse team that you possibly can, your project of migrating those huge amounts of data is being tackled by all of those people who can all give you a piece of the solution so you can craft something really efficient. They're going to work together, but also doing this will actually bring them closer together as a team as well. Working together against a common enemy, such as a problem you might have, it's a team building exercise right there on site for free. There we go. So I've worked in environments, quite a few actually, where they would say everyone was collaborating, but it was not implemented very well. A key component to collaboration is defining a common goal. What is it that is bringing everyone together? What are you working for or sometimes against? So here are some common goals for a couple of user groups. First one is Utah open source, of course, have to have that one. But the second one is actually my favorite. It's the software craftsmanship group. Their goal, it's very clear and it's very precise. It's kind of big, but what that means is the members of this group can take this goal and apply it within their group, but also to their daily lives. They can apply it to their jobs and everywhere else. It really helps everyone focus on what they're all striving for. And then once they know, they can all be on the same page and working towards that. So once you all know what your goal is, then you have the hard part, which is creating trust within your group. It's something that is often earned, but if you start out on the right foot, it's actually a lot easier to gain. So what you want to do, for sure, you want to be welcoming and inclusive. If you have anyone new, you want to make sure that they feel like this is somewhere where they belong. Even if it's a new job or attending a community event, it can be really hard for people to just take that first step and come and join. You have to meet a lot of new people, as I'm sure you guys have all had to do today. You have to learn the lingo. You got to figure out where everything is. But if we can help eliminate those barriers, then people will trust that we have their best interests at heart. And if you want to ensure group cohesiveness, make sure everyone's aware that this is a space for support and encouragement, not belittling or demeaning one another. This is actually something I've tried really hard to support in Girl Develop It. I want everyone who comes to know that if you need help, this is where you will get it. No one's going to come and going to say that your idea is dumb or your project's dumb or your code, you're using the wrong language. How often do we hear that, right? People aren't going to say that because they support whatever it is that you're trying to do. When your members and your employees are encouraging one another to try something challenging, right? Or they're emphatically congratulating each other on code well written or a project well done, then you know that they're actually a team. That's an environment that they will hopefully want to stay in. So this is something that is especially important for your community and your organization. I mean, sometimes it's easy to get members in, but sometimes it's hard to keep them. This has to be a space that they want to be in. Also, don't forget to give people the benefit of the doubt. This can be really hard. We all have biases. We have snap judgments, right? But when you're first meeting someone, you don't know them that well yet, okay? So believe that, especially your employees, they're not out to get something from you. They're there to do a good job, to support your company. And if you trust in them, they are going to trust in you. Sorry, guys, I don't memorize things. It just doesn't work. So this last one here, it should be a no-brainer for all of us, okay? A diverse team brings new ideas and creative solutions to our very complex problems that we have nowadays. If you don't have a diverse team, you need to figure out why that is. And then you need to take steps to fix that. You are hurting your organization or your community by not actively creating a diverse environment. It can actually be really difficult to look into your company or your group and figure out what your weaknesses are. But it is absolutely necessary. And there are people out there who will help you if you just ask. There we go. So the main reason that I'm a really big fan of collaboration is it benefits everybody, expert or novice. When you allow everyone to work together and they're pitching ideas, the expert can see a new way of thinking about a problem, and the novice can learn some valuable skills. When I started Girl Develop It here in Salt Lake, I knew that I wanted to create a community where collaboration was key. By having it as a goal from the very beginning, all of our events are structured to make people feel welcome and safe and that their opinion matters. Mentoring is also something that is very near and dear to my heart. I decided to pursue a career in programming because someone took the effort to take me under their wing and show me that this was something that I could do. Mentoring, it needs to happen everywhere. In your workplace, in your communities, anywhere you can. Mentoring and collaboration, they go hand in hand. People working together. If you have one in your group or community, you will have the other. Ultimately, though, collaboration, it leads to happier teams and better results for your community, for your business, and for your customers.
Great, and I'm going to round it out talking about equality. And I've added the term, open my session back up. I've added the term complementary because if you notice, that was one of the words in the description for this pillar. Women Tech Council was started about 8 years ago, and we thought it was a great opportunity to help to bridge the community when it comes to women in technology. Now, how many of you work for a technology company? How many of you have women in your technology company? Great. So you're all working with women in technology. It is not a foreign idea. But for some reason, nobody knew where they were. So once we started these Women Tech Council events, you would get 100 people in the room, and people would be just, wow, there's that many women in Utah in technology? It's been a really powerful thing, actually, to get all of these people together. So these bubbles aren't showing up great, but I just want to give you a peek of the areas that women technology touches. So we touch tech companies, women developers, K-12 and STEM education, universities, policy and government, professional services, tech organizations, entrepreneurs and capital resources. On our advisory board, we actually have representation from every single one of these groups. because it's very important to us that we're collaborating and that we're creating opportunity. And when we started Women Tech Council, we fundamentally, at the end of the day, it was not about getting more women into tech companies. It was about creating more opportunity for women. And that is a very different thing if you think about it. A natural byproduct obviously is getting more women into the tech community. But if you think about it from an opportunity standpoint, think of all the opportunity that happens when we're able to collaborate with each other and generate experiences. So we just held SheTech a couple weeks ago at right here at UVU. It was awesome. We had 300 young women in high school learning about tech. So that's the type of thing that we try to do in terms of mentorship and giving back to the community, helping to grow the next generation of women technologists. 2 days ago, we held our Make Your Moment, where we try to bring great executives who have done really cool things in the tech industry. Here we have 3 technology CEOs and a CMO from tech companies that you've heard of. Present and share their stories, and everybody's story is unique and inspiring. And we have all of these experiences that we can share with each other. We had about 300 people at Adobe experiencing that event. And then every year we have Women Tech Awards. We get 750 people out to the Grand America to recognize women who are doing really great things in technology. And what's important about that is that it raises the visibility of women in technology, and then we also invite about 100 students to that event as well. And it's just an awesome event every year. You notice, shameless plug, nominations are open. So if you know an awesome woman in tech, please, please, please nominate them. We want to know who they are. Surprisingly, we still haven't reached all the women in technology in Utah. I mean, every year I meet probably 25 more women in technology, and it's amazing to me how many there really, truly are. So, I want to present a radical idea. Sorry, I just had to sneak peek, make sure it's the right slide. When I talk about women technology, and I've spoken to probably hundreds of people about what Women Tech Council does, I remind them that it's really important to remember that women networking with women is not diversity. How many of you know of an organization that says, we want to support women, we are going to create a women's group? Right? That's kind of the de facto way of trying to support diversity. And what I think's happened is it tends to create, further the silos that happen. So with Women Tech Council, we make a strong point to invite men to come to our events, to invite men to be on our advisory board. We actually have about 35% men on our advisory board. Does anyone know of any other organization in Utah that has 35% women on an advisory board or a board? It's hard, and we wish it could be 50% men. But when we have our sponsors and they want to get involved and we say, please send somebody to be on their advisory board, 3 out of the 4 times they send a woman to be involved. And that's great because they want to open those opportunities for the women. And that's fine. But we really make an effort to include men because we partner with men. I know that's radical, but we have to do it because it creates opportunities for everyone when we do that. For the men as well, by the way. Okay, so I thought it'd be interesting to go through a few organizations just to show you a little bit of some of the demographics. So these are 3 Facebook organizations that I'm associated with. And when I looked, Facebook has some really cool, data and graphs, and I was able to pull the insights of their membership. So on the top we have, not sure how well this laser pointer works, but we have one where it has 78% women, 21% men. And you can see the demographics and the age groups that get involved. And then we have, the second one is 26% women, 74% men. And then the third one is 13% women and 87% men. Now, the first top row is Women Tech Council. So just as a baseline for you. So on our Facebook page, we have, I think we're almost at 1,000 people now, which is pretty cool. And we have 21% men that follow us. Pretty darn cool. The second row, for those of you who know, I'll just give you a hint, it's a startup group. You can kind of see the disparity of the women that are getting involved or following this organization from a startup perspective. And startups don't have enough women getting involved in startups. And then the third group is a technology organization. And you're showing that 13% of women are following that technology organization. So it probably come as no surprise. These are the three groups that I am associated with. Women Tech Council at the top. And then the Startup Weekend Provo was the middle one that I was an organizer with. And then our Openwest conference Facebook page. So it kind of shows you who's getting involved, who's coming out, who feels like they belong. And just kind of gives you something to think about. All right, more importantly, let's get to Star Wars. So this link, I want you all to go to this link, and we're going to have a fun activity, I guess. And we're going to see which Star Wars character are you. So if you'll go to this link, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to take the quiz. It is not gender specific, so just so you know, I am Luke Skywalker. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes, and we're going to put on some Star Wars music for a sec to memorialize the moment. Where's my Star Wars? Where'd it go? How come I can't see it? We might not get Star Wars, but take the quiz anyway. Raquel, Stacie, did you take the quiz? What are you? Oh, you did take it. That's right. She's Queen Amidala. That does not surprise me. Raquel's one of the most diplomatic people I know, actually. Will you just raise your hand when you're done so I can get a sense for...
It's too bad my uncle isn't here. He does a great Star Wars monologue to help you guys go on.
Oh, I can do Yoda, actually.
Can you?
Yeah.
That's great.
Quiet as it is in here. Okay. Just a couple more minutes to wrap up. Isaac's done. She's done. You're going to want to do it just so you know which character you are. Okay, what character are you?
I'm Queen Amidala.
Okay. Isaac, what were you?
I want to reveal that.
You're the Emperor? What are you?
I'm Chewbacca.
Chewbacca. What are you?
Princess Leia.
Awesome. Okay, if you've called out a character that has not been named before, I want you to come up here. So Queen Amidala, the Emperor, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, come up here. Any other characters that have not been named? Obi-Wan. Come on, Obi-Wan. Who are you? Well, Rock, paper, scissors. Okay. Other characters that have not been named yet. Yoda. No Luke Skywalkers yet? Any other characters? Han Solo, come up here. Okay. I actually don't know how many characters the quiz does.
Do we have a C-3PO yet?
We have C-3PO!
All right.
Where's my R2-D2? We don't have R2-D2 in here? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'll be Han Solo. So we're missing R2-D2. Who are we missing?
We have Luke Skywalker.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm sorry. We've got Han Solo. What other characters are we missing from just think of the first one.
Where's Darth Vader?
Darth Vader.
Let's hope we don't have any of those.
Well, we have the Emperor. We have his master. Okay, so can anyone imagine Star Wars without one of these characters? Well, nobody confessed to Jar Jar.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so Star Wars would not be the same if we didn't have the Emperor. As much as we love to hate him, right? We couldn't have had a Star Wars movie, or if we couldn't have Chewbacca, right? And his lovely voice, which I cannot imitate. I can't do it. But the point is when we build a community, there's all these diverse characters in our community, and it wouldn't be the same. And what we want to help do is grow Utah open source into a very complex, diverse community where we have a lot of really interesting people that will bring interesting perspectives to the conversation. So thank you all for participating on this with this experience. And now you know which Star Wars character you are as well. So one final radical idea that we want to share with you is comfortable does not equal growth. So if you're comfortable, we encourage you to grow. And with that, I'd love to kind of turn the time over to the group. Stacie, Raquel, you as well. How do we help grow the Utah open source community? It may create some discomfort, and that's fine. But how do we help it to grow?
I have an idea. I think we need more communication on the subject because I meet so many people who actually don't know that we have an open source community here or really what open source is.
So share the vision, share the mission.
Yeah,
of
I
open-
mean,
open
go
source
preach.
more.
Go tell people about it.
We need more evangelists. Hala?
Go do that in companies. Like have them when you come as a speaker to talk to their people at lunch. And be like, we'll come, give you guys an overview of what we're doing. Let them know that they can become members. Just talk about the things that you do as a group. And I think you'll get.
And if you're not comfortable doing it, then you're growing. So,
So just so everybody could hear that, she recommended open source members actually going into tech companies and talking about what we were doing. I'll give you an example of that. Women Tech Council has a really strong partnership with eBay. And because of that, what's been really great is being able to see eBay's inclusion program growing at the same time. So we're able to see internally with a tech company how those dynamics are influencing things. And then it also helps us, from the Women Tech Council side, to be able to know how to better serve a technology company like eBay. Other ideas?
If you are happening to go to some of these user groups, but especially if you are probably, each of these groups has an inner circle of sorts. If you see new people, try and talk to them, at least acknowledge that they're there and they're new, and they're more likely to show up again. And who knows, they might be someone who can bring a lot of people in.
Yes, so he says, be inclusive with new people. So people tend to, and I think it's natural human behavior, You tend to form those relationships. They grow over long periods of time, and then it's hard to embrace new people in. And it is a very human, I think it's part of being human. And so getting uncomfortable and getting out of your comfort zone and welcoming new people is great. And I just want to say that the Utah Open Source has been so welcoming to both Stacie and I. We're on the core team for this conference, and we're newer, but I have felt very welcome. So it's been nice. It's been nice to experience that.
I think it would be really cool if you guys could build partnerships with like the local government or associations or groups, and then create kind of some kind of like how SourceForge you can go on and just choose a project and work on it with people that you don't know. It could be all over. Try creating projects that people can work on as an open source project for things that solve Utah problems.
That is such a good idea.
Like how better can we
I can try.
solve our Utah problems and make it open source?
So she said, team up with local government and create open source projects to help tackle our local problems, right? Did I miss stuff on that?
Great idea. Him and then him.
I think along with what you're saying with the challenge that we have as human nature just to, deal with the group that we're familiar with, there's also the extra challenge that we have in this particular community, which is that many of the people who go into tech are naturally introverted and don't feel comfortable talking to other people. I wonder if there are ways that you could come up with that would make it more comfortable for people who are natural introverts.
I was telling somebody that earlier today. Now, I'm an extrovert. So what I need is feedback from introverts on how do we leverage that strength?
Well, I kind of wonder if kind of teaching them, right? Showing them some skills that they can learn to kind of help them push themselves a little bit. Because it's not that they need to become extroverts, but sometimes they lack some skills as well. They don't really know how to go up and ask someone. They don't know what things to initiate in small talk. I don't know. Do you have some recommendations too?
No, I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to turn them into extroverts.
No.
There are strong skills that introverts have that are very useful, and I wonder if there are certain activities that can be done that leverage those particular skills.
So I'm an introvert, and just my story a little bit, Women Tech Council actually was a great opportunity for me to really grow as an individual and appear as if maybe I'm not so shy as an introvert, because you can be a confident contributor to a community and be an introvert at the same time. And I think what I did through Women Tech Council was just show up. I think actually David Bradford actually talked about this on Tuesday a little bit. If you just show up and you just practice communicating, eventually you'll get better. And then also just when you're out there, everyone loves to talk about themselves. I mean, if you ask people questions about themselves, they will talk, and eventually it just gets a lot easier. So I don't know if there's something we can do with open source to help with that. But
Well, and I'm wondering too, to kind of utilize skills that introverts have if we engaged in online interaction, because I feel like you can be more free to express yourself, then you can meet people within the community and create those bonds that way. I wonder if that's a viable resource.
I don't want to underestimate, though, the power of, introverts make very strong friendships. So I will tell you, the last Startup Week in Provo was the highest percentage of women we'd ever seen at a startup event. 9% women, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot. There's actually 9% women here at Utah Open Source, which is higher than it ever has been. That's a great thing. But what was interesting is every single one of those 9 women were invited by somebody. So there's a lot of people that come to Women Tech Council and they say, oh, we want to get women there. We'll give you free registrations, discounts, anything. And they just assume that the women will show up. They will not show up unless they are invited. Every single one of those women had a friend that was there that was supporting them, and it was awesome. And Hala was there, and she won the fan favorite product with her Nom Nom Finder app, which is going to be out on Apple iTunes Store. So my food habits will be changing shortly. So we're so glad that she was part of it. Jared.
I was just going to say, we all have friends who follow us on Facebook or Twitter or other social media. Talk about the event you're going to, talk about what you're doing, and people who may not, be intimately, involved in what we're involved in will see what we're doing and maybe be excited and want to come join.
I agree. Share, and with that, share. It's great that nerds are cool. I love that, but at the same time, know that sometimes with certain groups that can be a little bit intimidating, right?
The other thing I wanted to add is that after brought up about working with the government and especially city government to try to use open source to solve that. There's a great organization called Code for America that does that, and I'd love to see a Code for America brigade start up here in Utah.
That would be great. If we have any volunteers that want to take that on,
I think
bring
he
it
does.
into
I think
open
he
source.
wants to do it.
Okay.
I would love to, otherwise I would.
Oh, man.
Way to get out of it, Jared.
I'll help sponsor somebody.
Okay, excellent. Anyone else have any other ideas?
I don't know, I've been starting Facebook looking at getting more involved in universities and the students that are getting ready to graduate. So I know that there is a support system and a lot of supporters out there. It's been a while since I've been in school, but I don't remember coming out of school and hearing anything about women's tech councils or any type of startup meetings that were here locally that probably get a lot of student involvement.
That's great. She said work more with universities so that as they're graduating, they can pathway into organizations that are set up to support their development. Any other ideas? Oh,
So I was just thinking that inclusion goes a long way beyond just discrimination and training on discrimination. I think sometimes as a male, as a member of the majority, in whatever sense you want to make that, it's very easy for me to basically get told that I shouldn't discriminate. But there's a big difference between that and being inclusive. I wonder sometimes, what are the things that the majority is doing wrong, if that makes sense. It's not like the really bad things, right? Like we're not doing sexual harassment training. But just how do we communicate better with women? How do we better communicate with women in tech? Because we do communicate different, men and women.
That's a tough one. I think just understanding that people in general are different from you. It's like Sarah's an extrovert and I'm an introvert, and we have to learn how to communicate sometimes. Not in a bad way, never a bad way. But I think it's just being aware that not everyone will want to come to your group because it's set up this way, right? There may be other people who are intimidated because you're going to, like a hack night, right? It seems pretty harmless, but if you're someone who's never been to a tech group before and you're not big on competition or something like that, it can be really intimidating to even want to show up. And I think just talking to people who have different personalities, different life situations from you, and just learning what those differences are and how they might interpret a situation in a different way, that is a huge step forward. Because we often think everybody thinks like I do. Everyone wants to come to this because it's awesome and I think it's cool. But you know what? Not everybody thinks that. So it's just opening our horizons and really understanding that every single person is different.
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn and then you. So, yeah, so she said sometimes the effort to reach out is very, very helpful. And I think that was what I was going to respond in response to your question was, so I always appreciate effort. I appreciate when people will come to me and ask what I think about women in tech or how to involve them. It drives me to no end batty when people think they know how to get women in tech, but they've never bothered to ask a woman in tech. And I always wonder, how did that happen? So I think making effort, while it is a little bit uncomfortable, I think it is appreciated. And I think whether it's women, different ethnicities, socioeconomic status, anyone that is not the same as you, that always takes effort. So it's, it's not just with women, but anyone that you're trying to just understand.
Yeah, and I would just say, assume you can learn something from everyone. Sorry, Stacie.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So just assume you can learn something from everyone because everyone does something different from you. So.
Well, I think over the last few months, we've been working a lot of things out. I think for us, for me, the best thing is to make sure that you got to meet, try to have a diverse group of friends and colleagues. You can then have a trust relationship and go and ask them, because I can try and assume and guess, and I can empathize, but I'm not going to be a great source of coming up with a solution. So I think going to people say, hey, what can we do about our user groups to make it feel more comfortable, or what do you think, what do you like, what do you not, what do you think we can do better? And I think as long as, if you create sincere relationships with people that you have a safe and trust, conversation with them, that you can learn things that you didn't even realize. And I think that's been something for me is just have just really good, sincere conversation with people that, it's not, oh, I just want to be a woman. It's like, no, I really care about you, and I want to know how can we make this better.
I always appreciate a dialogue. And just so everybody knows, we don't have the answer. If we knew how to get more women in tech, there would be more women in tech. And so we all need to talk with each other about what that solution is, because I don't think anyone has the answer yet, which is why we, encourage collaboration. Your ideas, our ideas, what we've seen work, what we've seen hasn't worked. I think we all just need to keep working together and collaborating around it. I'm going to wrap up just because I know there's another session at 3 o'clock. Thank you, everyone, for your dialogue on this topic. It's been really, really fun and interesting. Thank you to Stacie and Raquel for joining on this panel. And they're going to be around, so if you want to talk to them, please feel free to.